you turn on the news and you hear unemployment is low, yay! That sounds positive, right? But your reality is you are hustling to find a job that actually matches, your skills and your career goals. And it seems like your reality is way different than what those numbers say. So why is this happening? I'm Shelley Piedmont. I'm a recruiter turned career coach, and I help you thrive and not just survive your job and career. Well, the truth is, those glowing numbers that you hear often really are not in alignment with what you are experiencing. And the truth is, they don't look at your location, your career level, your industry, or even how much you want to make. For a lot of people, those numbers, those unemployment numbers, feel really out of touch with what they are truly experiencing. So even when we hear that the economy is actually good, you might be really struggling to find a job. It might feel like you're climbing Mount Everest. And those stats don't show that not everyone is thriving. Certain industries, certain roles may be struggling. So it kind of can feel like, well, there's a party happening, but you haven't been invited. So that's important to understand. It's not just you. The other thing is, for many of you, you were last in the job market when jobs were really plentiful and you could get multiple job offers within weeks. Now, it's natural for you to want that job market to come back, but that wasn't typical. And I can tell you, as my career as a recruiter and seeing a lot of economies, that was very odd. Truth is, sometimes it's a buyer's market, sometimes it's a seller's market, and sometimes it's the middle. But one thing you can count on, it will always change. So let's break down what is true about the national unemployment rate you hear on the news. So first, it's good to remember it's an aggregate. Basically, it's one big average that includes all the jobs in all the industries. It really doesn't care if you are a nurse in Houston, a coder in San Francisco, or you're a construction worker in Ohio. You all are lumped together. But it's a good measure to get a pulse on the hiring situation in the country as a whole, but it certainly can be out of sync with what you are experiencing yourself. Now, tell you a little background. I started my career working for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They produce this particular measure. And it's important to understand kind of how that number is calculated. Okay, so the unemployment rate is calculated by dividing the number of unemployed individuals, and these are those that are not working but are actively looking and available for work, by the total number of people in the labor force. And that includes those people who are employed and unemployed. And then multiplying that by 100 to get the percentage that you see. Now, the national unemployment rate takes into account all sorts of different jobs and all sorts of different people working those jobs. So in there, we've got blue collar jobs, and those are hands-on gigs, and there can be like construction or manufacturing. And they're really important to the economy, but those numbers can swing wildly based upon their local economy. And you have white collar jobs, and you think of those as office jobs, and they are fields like finance, tech. There's always a need for these roles, but that need can depend on market trends, new technology, even government regulation. And there are hourly workers, retail, restaurant, contract workers. They often have unpredictable hours, and that can not get reflected in those employment stats. And then there's also salary positions. Those tend to be more stable, but we also have seen more layoffs in sectors that employ a lot of salaried employees. If you like this content, I always appreciate a like and a subscribe. So what does this mean for you? It could mean that the low employment rate doesn't tell your story. Some industries, locations could be booming, while others are actually struggling. But here's something to remember. It's really not about the national job market. It's about your job market. What's happening in your industry, your city and at your level, what you're looking for in terms of type of roles, and that's what's important to you. So I'll give you an example of one of my clients. So she applied for a job that had 3,000 other applicants. Can you imagine that? Obviously, for this role, she found that there was a lot of competition, more applicants than jobs. So here's the thing. When you're facing that much competition, you can't just throw your hat in the ring and hope for the best. That just is not going to work. You have to do what she did, and this is important. She researched the company inside and out to understand how this role fit in. She tailored her resume to match the job description so that she was answering how she was, a good fit for the role. Other things she did in addition, she created 30, 60, 90-day plans so they could see how she would approach this role. What she did then was she stood out from all her competitors. And if you are facing a tough job market, you have got to go above and beyond because it's tough out there, no doubt. You need to stay resilient and you have to find ways for you to shine, to show your value. So I know some people feel like, well, should I just give up looking? It's too hard. Obviously, if you're unemployed, you can't. But even if you are employed and want to change jobs, it's about being strategic. So here's ways you can level up. First of all, be prepared. You can't just wing it. Know the company, know the role like the back of your hand. You need to tell your resume and cover letter if you choose to use one. I'm not saying you do, but if you choose one, and you need to show them why you're exactly what they need. Do your homework. Match your skills to the job description and figure out their biggest challenges. Then show how you can solve those problems. You need to be proactive. Stand out by offering ideas or a vision for what you do in this role. Employers love seeing that you've already thought about how you'll add value. That's a great plus. Look, I know the job market is frustrating for many of you right now. And with the headlines not matching your experience, it's really hard. But you need to take a proactive, strategic approach. When you do that, you can shift the odds into your favor. Remember, it doesn't matter the job market because people find jobs no matter if it's a bad market. During the Great Recession, I found 2 jobs, so it is possible. But you can't sit back and just hope things work out. You need to make your plan, be strategic, and make sure that you're not just reacting to the market, but you are proactively owning it. Do that, and I promise you, you'll get the results you want.